Spinning. All right. It says we're live. Hello, everybody. We did it. Welcome. My name is Diane Rose Solomon. I am the founder of Animal Magic Films. Here's a little. Here we are. Thank you for joining us for our 27th interview in the Science and Magic of the Human-Animal Bond interview series. We will be exploring many of the ways that animals help people and people help animals. In my mind, it's a both and conversation where we all benefit from this bond. I know I've benefited immensely from my relationship with my pets and from a surprise therapy dog visit in the hospital many years ago. I also experienced great joy watching other people heal from their interactions with animals, and I'm captivated by non-companion animals like wild animals, farm animals, and more. But now we get to hear from you, people who are making our relationships with our pets, our communities, and with our natural environment just a little bit better. So please welcome my guest today, the author of A Tale of Love, Life Lessons from Scrappy, a Pet Therapy Dog. Meet Larry Grogan. Hi, Larry.
Hi, Diane. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy to see you. So let me tell everybody a little bit about you, and then I want to learn more about how this book came to be and lots of other stuff. So here's your bio. Larry Grogan is an investment advisor by day, but an animal lover. Well, you said at heart, so I'll just say at night. At an early age, Larry and his father would go fishing together in North Carolina, where part of the routine was to watch deer grazing in the meadows next to the trout stream. From that point on, the beauty of nature significantly impacted Larry's approach to life, and I totally get that. Then came Scrappy. Scrappy was a 5-pound mixture of toy poodle and chihuahua. A better soul could never have been created, and when Scrappy passed away in 2019, writing became therapy for Larry. Her absence in his life was immense, and it took over 2 years for Larry to complete his memoir about Scrappy. So this is Larry's first book, Life Lessons from a Pet Therapy Dog, A Tale of Love, and it chronicles many of Scrappy and Larry's experiences together, visiting children's hospitals and other healthcare facilities. In Scrappy, Larry was able to illustrate the significant impact pet therapy dogs have on patients. These experiences and observations changed his life and hopes that it may change yours as well. Well, I will say I've read your book and it's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you took all of your, everything that you needed to take and started writing. But I want to find out what inspired you. I mean, I just read a little bit about the inspiration, with Scrappy's passing.
Mm-hmm.
But was there a moment when you just knew you had to write? How did that whole process unfold?
Well, honestly, it was never my intentions to write and publish a book. As you correctly stated, writing became a therapy process for me because when she passed, I was emotionally lost. And so what I would do is I would just tear off a corner of a piece of paper and write a little note on it to Scrappy, and I would put it in their urn with her ashes.
Aww.
And the notes then became letters, and the letters became stories. And after a period of time, I just accumulated so many thoughts that I wanted, just for my own purpose, to put some organization to it.
Mm-hmm.
So on the first anniversary of her passing, I went away. I didn't go too far from where I am now, but I just needed to go away to get into nature and some solitude and begin organizing all my thoughts and putting them in writing. And so when I left after that 3 or 4 days, I think I had about 24 pages, nothing that would ever represent a book. But I just kept doing it. I kept coming up with more ideas and more thoughts and more memories.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started to reflect on how Scrappy managed all of these different situations. And so the second year after her passing, I went back to upstate New York, where she came into my life, and visited some very important locations that she and I shared together, and just kept putting organization to these stories. And so when I left New York on that visit, I think I had 76 pages or something to that effect. But I began to share it with people, and they commented on it and just encouraged me to go through the publishing process. And so that was how it all came about. And it was, 2.5 years after her passing, here we are. I launched and released the book in October of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so that was the process, but it really was an emotional journey for me to remember all the great things that Scrappy did with her life and how she impacted so many other people.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you share some amazing stories in the book too, which hopefully you'll share a few with us in a little bit. But I know that feeling of, I never intended to write a book, and the next thing I knew, and now it was like 12 years ago, I'd written a book, and then I wrote 2 books, and then I wrote 3 books. I'm like, how did that happen? That was not part of the big plan, but there you are. And we're sitting here looking with your book, so it's a beautiful book.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me a little bit about the work that you and Scrappy did together. And obviously, Scrappy was a therapy pet. Share a little bit about the work.
Yeah, we were a pet therapy team, and we went through the training process. And then after the training was completed, I made the decision that I thought Scrappy would be perfect for a children's hospital here in town. And we were new to the area. We had just moved here from New York. And so it was also a great opportunity for us to get to meet some people that we otherwise probably would never have met. But we would go into the children's hospital. We always had a certain routine. We'd go into the lobby. We'd be met by a child life specialist, and they would walk us around. This particular hospital happens to be an affiliate of St. Jude's. So we would go into that wing first and just visit with everybody. And, it would start with the nurses, to be honest with you. We always met with the nurses first because we began to realize over time just how difficult their job is. Mm-hmm. But then we would walk into the individual rooms where the children were. And I would just hold Scrappy in my arms. She always sat on my left arm. And I would just hold her and just see if the kids wanted to pet her. And very few of them ever said no. Mm-hmm. And so it was really just an opportunity for them to pet Scrappy, get their mind off of whatever it was on at that time. But it was also very important for their families to take the time to pet with Scrappy and visit with her a little bit too. But we would go from there up to the 2nd floor and then sometimes a 3rd level. It just depends on that particular time. But it was just a great opportunity for Scrappy in her presence to see a little dog walk into a hospital room always surprised the kids. And it was a great surprise for them. And so it was just a great thing for them to have an experience of something they would have never thought would ever happen. Mm-hmm. And then just to have the opportunity to take their mind off of whatever was troubling them at the time.
That's key. And that's key. And from personal experience, as I mentioned in the beginning, I was in the hospital in 2009. This was long before I even knew what therapy animals were. It existed, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. Mm-hmm. And I remember the woman coming to the hospital doorway in my room and saying, "Would you like a visit from a dog?" And I was delirious. And I looked up and I was like, what? Like, why is there even a dog in the hospital? Like, is that allowed? Like, and I didn't really comprehend the whole concept. But bring in the dog, of course. And she spread a clean sheet on the bed, and the dog jumped up, and I visited with them for a few minutes, and then but I have a photo of me with the dog with the biggest smile on my face.
Sure.
So I've personally experienced, that those few moments of, I'm not thinking about how lousy I feel.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, that's just the beauty of dogs in particular, animals in general. They have that ability to break down all the barriers and to make everything feel so much better. And I write in the book, there's actually a commercial that I've seen many times on TV, a dog food commercial. And it's all about a little girl laying in bed, and the nurse comes to the door and she sticks out her arm. She goes, "More treatment."
Mm.
And the nurse says, "No, we're going to try something a little different this time." And this beautiful dog comes walking in. And that's a scene that, Scrappy and I experienced a lot of times. And it's always beautiful. It's always the same reaction. It's just fantastic.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, here you are a few years later, and, really Scrappy lives on not just through your memory now, but also now through this beautiful book that you've created.
Mm-hmm.
How does this book help people and animals now?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that it really does. One is it will demonstrate the significance of dogs and animals in general,
Yeah.
the impact that they can have. When you are a four-legged creature that doesn't have the ability to speak, but yet has the ability to alter your feelings, your emotions instantly, that's powerful.
Powerful.
And that's really what any service animal has the ability to do, whether it's pet therapy or otherwise. And that's what Scrappy did. And again, she was 5 pounds. There wasn't much to her, but she could change the atmosphere of a room like that.
Like that.
And so that was what I began to understand about Scrappy and how she could manage and alter these situations, and how I came up with the idea of just translating that into lessons that we can use ourselves in our own daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to have the ability as a human who can talk, impact a room and change the atmosphere as quickly as Scrappy does is a powerful thing that we can do. We just have to choose to do it and make that part of how we want to live our lives, and demonstrate the power of humans, as Scrappy demonstrated the power of a dog walking into a room, changing the well-being of a child.
And your point is so well taken that, the dog is just being a dog, but look how much we can learn from just being a dog, right?
Exactly.
It's so simple, but if we're just paying attention a little bit, and all Scrappy was doing was being present.
Mm-hmm.
Scrappy was just being Scrappy. And isn't that a blessing right there? Isn't that powerful right there, that just by being yourself, you can be a blessing? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't take a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love how throughout the book, you wrap your stories into like a little lesson, and you're very gentle about it. It's not like you must do this. You just sort of encapsulate it very nicely. And I like how at the end of the book, you sort of do a recap too, because it's like, okay, I read that 50 pages ago. What was that again? And so it's nice that you have that recap at the end. Very well done.
Thank you.
Great. So what else do you want people to know about your therapy work, or even about the book?
Well, I think pet therapy is something, and you mentioned it, you'd never heard of it until it happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the keys, is that there are so many ways that we can use our animals to benefit others.
Yeah.
We have to explore those opportunities. And I would encourage your listeners to explore those opportunities. Pet therapy is not for every dog. It's not for every person.
Yeah.
You can find yourself in some very difficult situations.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't discuss those situations with anyone. You can't name names. You can't ask questions. And so you have to accept the fact that you're going there to help someone feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog has the ability to do that, as you said, very naturally. So I would encourage anyone who has a dog that is tender in nature, not assertive in any way, to explore pet therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful experience. You will meet people that, as I said earlier, you may never encounter again.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you that sense of satisfaction. So I would encourage people to explore, whether it's pet therapy or other service animal opportunities, because it's very rewarding. But there's a lot to be given on all sides from that perspective.
Yeah.
As far as the book is concerned, I think you kind of summarized it really well. I'm not trying to preach. I'm not trying to say this is how we should live. I'm just encouraging people to accept what I experienced with Scrappy, how she impacted my life, and how I choose to live my life at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It really did make a major impact on me. And I think there are things there that, whether you're male or female, there's going to be lessons for us. I think one that comes to mind immediately for men in particular says, don't be afraid to bring your emotions to tears. And there's a long story behind all that. But I cried a lot,
Yeah.
through this process. And sometimes I still do. But it's just one of those things that I think we have to kind of get over our own stereotype
Mm-hmm.
and accept the fact that we're human.
Yeah.
And this 5-pound little dog made me human.
So well said. This 5-pound dog made me human. That's really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
I know you have so many stories. Do you have any that you'd like to share before we go?
Yeah, there's a couple I'll share real quickly. One, it's early in the book, and it's about a little boy that we visited many times in the
Mm-hmm.
children's hospital. And he was getting his chemo treatment, and we could hear him crying from the opposite end of the hospital floor. And the nurse knew that we were coming. She came around the corner, asked if we would stop in first. And Scrappy just sat in between the two of us. He never took his hand off of her. He never stopped crying. It just wasn't as intense. But he was very gracious with us and appreciated the fact his poor mother, she just felt helpless, and she was helpless. But she was so appreciative of the fact that we came, and we repeated that process many times with them. But unfortunately, several months later, he passed away. And we attended, Scrappy and I attended a visitation. Mm-hmm. And his mother saw us.
Wow.
And the place just stopped. I mean, they just surrounded Scrappy and just gave her all the love that anyone would ever want. And so that's probably the one memory that I will never, ever forget or leave behind. But there are so many others, so many fun ones. I think, living in upstate New York, we would take the train to New York City. And I love to take what's called the Metro, which is the commuter train. Mm-hmm. And the reason I enjoyed it was Scrappy would sit on the inside seat, and you stop at every little village from Albany to New York City. And I would watch her head, and it was like she was watching a tennis match. Just get on, get off, get on. And she just absolutely loved it. But then I would watch the people around. and they would just smile and laugh and point and just have a great time with her as well. But I loved her curiosity. We traveled together. We went to San Antonio. We went to Scottsdale. We've traveled all over the Southeast and places in between. But she was very curious. She loved to explore. She would never get very far from me, but she loved going into hotels, riding taxis. She even figured out the revolving doors for the hotels. But she's just, she was a wonderful animal, something very precious to travel with. And she was always the attention getter. And I mentioned one time in the book a story about sales. And she attended a conference with me. I just sat her right on top of the table, and everybody would come by. So she was the bait, and I was the closer. But we were a good team.
I love that. And I love that she was little enough just to sit right on top of the table, too.
Yeah, that's right.
My dogs would be knocking over the table. It would just be a complete melee. I can envision Scrappy, who, of course, I never met. Just
she was a great sales pitch.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I loved the book. I'm grateful that we connected. I'm so happy that I got to learn about Scrappy, and I'm sure you've already touched many lives with, not just when Scrappy was alive, but her memory will continue to make an impression on people, and I'm sure it's all positive. So, Larry, thank you. I'm glad your little snippets of paper turned into bigger snippets of paper, into stories, into a book. So well done.
Me too. Thank you very much, Diane.
Very well done.
Thank you.
So to purchase a copy of A Tale of Love, you can visit Amazon or Barnes & Noble. I don't expect anybody to write down this link. That's actually the shortened link. I will make sure that it gets posted when we post it on social media. But you can just look for the book, A Tale of Love. Here, he's got it up. Here's another copy of it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And I suspect at some point in the near future, there will be other places where the book will be available as well. So thank you, Larry, for being here and sharing A Tale of Love and also Scrappy with us. I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
And, yeah. Before we go, a few quick announcements. Please, if you have not already done so, join our community, animalmagicfilms.com, so you can learn about upcoming films and news and what's going on. If you are not seeing this in the Facebook group, you are invited to join our Facebook group, The Science and Magic of the Human-Animal Bond. You are invited to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you're also invited to email me if you've got questions, concerns, or want to share a story or whatever. Diane at animalmagicfilms.com. And let's go back here. So you can purchase a copy of A Tale of Love at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. So thanks again, Larry, for joining me today and for sharing your beautiful relationship with Scrappy, with the world. And thank you to everyone for spending time with us today. This is our last interview of 2021. So happy holidays, happy new year, and we will be back in January with another fabulous guest. So take care, everybody. Bye, Larry.
Bye. Thank you.
My pleasure. Good to see you.